Hello students and welcome to the new lecture of Standard 10 Science Chapter 10, which is light, reflection and refraction. Okay, so basically this is the first chapter of your physics and it is related to the light. So let's start this chapter. We see a variety of objects in the world around us. However, we are unable to see anything in a dark room. On lighting up the room, things become visible. What makes things visible? Whenever during night there is darkness in your room, then you cannot see anything in your room. But suddenly, when you switch on your lights, then everything will be visible to you because the reason is the light. Whenever light falls on any object, then after reflecting from that object, when light enters in our eyes, then we can see that object. During daytime sunlight will do this work, and during night time man-made lights, for example tube lights, that kind of lights, LED bulbs, this will be help us to see the objects. During the day, the sunlight helps us to see objects. An object reflects light that falls on it. This reflected light, when received by our eyes, enables us to see things. We are able to see throughout a transparent medium as light is transmitted throughout it. There are a number of common wonderful phenomena associated with the light, such as image formation by mirrors, the twinkling of stars, the beautiful colors of rainbow, bending of light by a medium, and so on. A study of the properties of light helps us to explore them. So in this chapter we will study about some properties of light, that how light will travel in mirror, in lens, etc. By observing the common optical phenomena around us, we may conclude that light seems to travel in a straight line. As you all already studied that light never travels in any zigzag way. Light will travels always in a straight path. The fact that a small source of light casts a sharp shadow of an opaque object points to its straight line path of light, usually indicated as a ray of light. Okay, the smallest source of light casts a sharp shadow, means if you throw the smallest light, then that ray will fall on that opaque surface, and by that opaque surface that light will not pass from it, so it will form a shadow behind that object. In this chapter we shall study the phenomena of reflection and refraction of light using the straight line propagation of light. These basic concepts will help us in the study of some of the optical phenomena in nature. We shall try to understand in this chapter the reflection of light by spherical mirrors and refraction of light, that their application in real life situation. Okay, so basically in this chapter we will study about two different phenomena of light. First is reflection of light and second is refraction of light. Okay, there is difference between this reflection and refraction. Okay, so I will tell you what is the difference when we will study that concept in detail, and also we will study their practical application, that by reflection of light what are some practical examples of that thing, and refraction of light what are some practical examples on that, and which instruments or which applications are using those things and which can help us. So first we will study about the most important topic, which is reflection of light. Okay, what is reflection of light? For example, this is our plane mirror. Okay, so reflection means what? When a source of light falls on an object. For example, our source is, let's take sun is our source, so the rays are falling on the mirror, then after colliding this ray will be fall back. So this phenomena is called the reflection of light. After coming and passing from the opaque surface, it will turn and it will reflect. That is called the reflection of light. A highly polished surface such as mirror reflects most of the light falling on it. You are already familiar with the laws of reflection of light. Let us recall these laws. Okay, you have earlier studied the laws of reflection of light. So first let's recall this law. First law states that the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. Okay, this is your first law. The angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. What this law states, for example, take this surface. Okay, this is angle of incident. Yes, this is normal. So here angle of incidence will be I, the angle between normal and incident ray. Okay, and this ray will be reflected like this. So this angle is your reflected ray, which is R. So first law says that when an ray falling on a plane surface, okay, this surface is even, not like this surface, it is straight surface. So when a ray of light fall on a straight surface, then it will reflect, and the angle of incidence I will always be equal to the angle of reflection R. Okay, this is the first law of reflection. Now second, the incident ray, the normal to the mirror, and the point of the incident and the reflected ray all lie in the same plane. Same case. Yes, this is our mirror. This is first plane and this is second plane. This is incident ray, this is reflected ray, and this is normal. Okay, so this law states that incident ray I, reflected ray R, angle of incidence I, angle of reflection R, and this point of incidence is this. When this ray touch the surface, that is called point of incidence. Okay, so according to second law, incident ray normal to the mirror at the point of incidence. Okay, at the point of incidence, see, this is very important, at the point of incidence, and the reflected ray. Okay, so this is our incident ray, this is on the same plane first. This is our reflected ray, it is also on the same plane first, and the normal to the point, this is the normal to the point. Okay, till this point we will consider it a normal. So this line is also in the first plane. So all these three are in the first number, so they are in first plane, there is nothing in this second plane, so they all lie in the same plane. This is denoted as a second law. These laws of reflection are applicable to all types of reflecting surfaces, including spherical surfaces. You are familiar with the formation of image by a plane mirror. What are the properties of image? Image formed by a plane mirror is always virtual and erect. Okay, first property is you will get only virtual image, means there is not real image. You will get behind the mirror, you will get your image, so it is virtual. And erect means straight, you are standing straight, so you will get your straight image. And inverted means opposite. For example, this is our candle. Okay, so you will get this type of image, this is called erect image. And if you get like this image, then this is called inverted image. Okay, उल्टी इमेज जो होगी उसको इन्वर्टेड इमेज बोलेंगे, और जो सीधा होगा उसको इरेक्टेड इमेज बोलेंगे. सो प्लेन मिरर में आपको ऑलवेज इरेक्ट इमेज मिलती है. देन द साइज ऑफ द इमेज इज ऑलवेज इक्वल टू दैट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट. ओके, आपकी जितनी साइज होगी उतना ही आपको इमेज की साइज भी मिलेगी. ठीक है, इमेज की साइज भी आपको यहाँ पे स्ट्रेट मिलेगी, यही स्मॉल या लार्ज नहीं मिलेगी प्लेन मिरर में. द इमेज फॉर्म is as far behind the mirror as the object is in front of it. Okay, same case, this is your plane mirror, so here is your object. For example, this distance is 10 meter. Okay, so you will get image also on the 10 meter behind the mirror, and this both length are also same, and this distance from plane mirror is also same. Further, the image is laterally inverted. How would the images be when the reflecting surfaces are curved? Let us explore. Okay, further what happened, the image is laterally inverted. Laterally inverted means what? um, for example, when you place when you take up your right hand, then in the mirror you will find that your left hand will appear. For example, this is boy. Okay, so if it he put his right hand, then in image he will find that his left hand will be as up. So this is the difference. Laterally inverted means mirror right to left, then if you put take left, then image will show right part of your body. Okay, so this is called laterally inverted image. How would the images be when the reflecting surfaces are curved? Okay, when reflecting surfaces are curved mirror, then there are two types of mirror. One is concave mirror and second is convex mirror. Okay, so both in these mirrors, how will you get images, we will study in this chapter. So activity 10.1. So in activity 10.1, it shows that take a large shining spoon, try to view your face in its curved surface. Do you get the image? Is it smaller or larger? Now move the spoon slowly away from your face. Observe the image. How does it change? Now reverse the spoon and repeat the activity. How does the image look like now? So you have to reverse the spoon, then first you have to place it near your face and then slowly you have to move far away. Compare this characteristic of the image on the two surface. So let's answer the first question. Do you get the image? Yes, we will get the image in the spoon. Is it smaller or larger? This image will be larger and it will be erect when we place the spoon closer to our face. Now move this spoon slowly away from the face. Then observe the image. Image will be becomes large and it will become inverted. Okay, it will change. When the face is far away, then we will get highly diminished and inverted image of our face. Now second thing, we have to opposite the spoon, reverse the spoon, and then we have to see. So when we reverse the spoon then and see our face, then it will be virtual and diminished in size, means very small in size. Now if we move that spoon away from our face, then that image will be continues to be virtual and diminished in size. There will be no change. And finally, when image will be diminished at a point size, as the spoon will be very far. Now compare the characteristic of the image of the two surfaces. Okay, so as I said that first the inner surface of the spoon, this, okay, this is the inner surface of the spoon. This area is act as a concave mirror, and when we oppose the spoon, then that part will come, so our rays are fall on this surface. This mirror is act as a convex mirror of the spoon. So these are the characteristics of concave mirror and convex mirror. Okay, so inner surface will act as a concave mirror because spoon's shape is like this. Okay, and outer surface, yes, this is outer surface, it will act as a convex mirror. Okay, the curved surface of shining spoon could be considered as a curved mirror. The most commonly used type of curved mirror is the spherical mirror. The reflecting surface of such mirrors can be considered to form a part of the surface of a sphere. Such mirrors whose reflecting surface are spherical are called spherical mirrors. We shall now study about the spherical mirrors in some detail. So these are plane mirror whose surface is straight and whose surface is curved either like this or like this. These are called curved mirror or spherical mirror. Okay. Now let's study about the spherical mirrors. 10.2 spherical mirrors. The reflecting surface of spherical mirror may be curved inward or outward. Okay, there are two types of mirror. First is inward surface and second is outward surface, which is turned, curved. A spherical mirror whose reflecting surface is curved inward, that is, faces towards the center of the sphere, is called concave mirror. Please remember, guys, this mirror is a concave mirror, okay? Its inner surface is curved. A spherical mirror whose reflecting surface is curved outward is called convex mirror, okay? Convex mirror means like this. This mirror will be convex mirror. Rays will fall on it throughout this. The schematic representation of these mirrors is shown in figure 10.1. You may note, yes, this is concave mirror and this is convex mirror. You may note in these diagrams that the back of the mirror is shaded, okay? In both these cases, this back side is shaded. You may now understand that the surface of the spoon curved inward can be approximated to a concave mirror, and the surface of the spoon bulged outwards can be approximated to a convex mirror. Before we move further on spherical mirrors, we need to recognize and understand the meaning of a few terms. These terms are commonly used in discussion about spherical mirrors. The center of the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is a part called the pole. Okay. Yes. For example, this is one sphere. Okay. If we cut this part, then it is like this, and if we cut this part, then it will become convex mirror. Okay. So the center, this is the center of the sphere, which is, yes, this is the lens. Okay. So the center of the sphere, this part, this is called the center of the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is a point called the, no, that is center of curvature. The center of the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror, okay, pole means this, I showed this is a center of curvature, and pole means what, this, the radius which touches the center of the mirror. So the center part of this mirror is called pole, okay? And the mirror which is a part of sphere, the center of that sphere is called center of curvature. It lies on the surface of the mirror. The pole is usually represented as the letter P, okay? So in both the cases, if this is our pole, this will be P, and if this is our pole, then it will defined as P, okay? The reflecting surface of a spherical mirrors form a part of sphere. This sphere has a center. This point is called the center of curvature of the spherical mirror. Okay, as I shown you that mirror is a part of one sphere, and the center of that sphere is called center of curvature. Okay, for example, this is part of this mirror, so that this center of sphere is called center of curvature. So we can put it like this, and we can calculate it as a C. Then it is represented by the letter capital C. Please note that the center of curvature is not a part of the mirror, okay? It is not lie on the mirror. It is lie in the outside of the mirror. It lies outside its reflecting surface. The center of curvature of a concave mirror lies in front of it. However, it lies behind the mirror in case of a convex mirror, okay? As you can see that this is concave mirror, so it is lies in the inside inward part of this mirror, and for taking convex mirror, this is its inner part, so it will lie outside of that mirror, and this is on the left side of the mirror, while this is in the right side of mirror, as the case in the convex lens. Then the center of the curvature lies in front of it, however it lies behind the mirror in case of a convex mirror. You may note this in figure 10.2a and b. The radius of the sphere of which the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror forms a part is called the radius of curvature of the mirror. Okay, the distance between center of curvature and this pole P, the distance between C and P is called radius of curvature, like this. This is our C and this is our P. So the distance between C and P is called radius of curvature. It is represented by the letter R. You may note that the distance PC is equal to the radius of curvature. Imagine a straight line passing throughout the pole and the center of curvature of a spherical mirror. This line is called the principal axis. Okay, this is our concave mirror. This is our principal axis. Here we have a C and here we have a P. So this line is called principal axis. Okay, principal axis. I am not writing full form you because there is very less space. You understand it. Remember that principal axis is normal to the mirror at its pole. Let us understand an important term related to mirrors throughout an activity. How it is normal? For example, this is concave mirror. Okay, so you pass a line, straight line from it. So this line will be at 90 degree to this mirror. Okay, this line will be, as a we will consider at a 90 degree till this flat surface which is passing from pole. So it is always perpendicular or as at a 90 degree principal axis to the mirror. Activity 10.2. Do not look at the sun directly or even into a mirror reflecting sunlight. It may damage your eyes. Hold a concave mirror in your hand and direct its reflecting surface towards the sun. Now direct the light reflected by the mirror on the sheet of paper held close to the mirror. Move the sheet of paper back and forth gradually until you find on the paper sheet a bright, sharp spot of light. Hold the mirror and the paper in the same position for a few minutes. What do you observe? Why? So, this is our sun. Okay? Yes. And this is our spherical mirror. So, all the sun rays will fall on this mirror like this. Okay? Now, we have to hold one paper at this point. So we will find that all the rays are fall on one point. Okay, yes, this point. And here on this point we will, when this paper initially turn blacks and then burns, which produce the smoke and eventually it catches fire. The light from the sun is converged to a point as a sharp bright spot by the mirror. This spot of light is the image of the sun on the sheet of paper. Okay, these all rays are after reflecting meet at a point on that paper. This point is the principal focus of a concave mirror. So the heat produced due to this concentration of sunlight will be ignite this paper. So yes, what do you observe and why? The paper at first begins to burn, producing smoke. Eventually it may even catch fire. Why does it happen? The light from the sun is converged at a point as a sharp, bright spot by the mirror. In fact, this spot of light is the image of the sun on the sheet of paper. This point is the focus of the concave mirror. The heat produced due to the concentration of sunlight ignites this paper. So the distance of this image from the position of the mirror gives the approximate value of focal length of the mirror. Let us try to understand this observation with help of a ray diagram. Okay, so this is the ray diagram of a concave mirror. First, this is our source or our object. Okay, it is at infinite distance. So all rays will pass parallel from this, and after reflecting you can see that these all rays will be meeting at a point. This point is called as a focal point F, and the distance between F and P, the distance between F and P is called focal length. Okay, so, and these all rays are converging at a point, they all are meeting at a point. So this lens is also called as converging lens. Concave lens is called converging lens. Now in the case of convex mirror, okay, this is not a lens, sorry, this is mirror, so it is concave mirror. And in second case it is convex mirror. So in convex mirror same thing happened, these rays are coming, but this is not converging lens, it is diverging lens. So all these rays, due to its curved surface outward, this ray will be turn outward and it will divert it outward side. So it will not meet at a point. But when we extend these rays on the backward side of this little mirror, then we will find that these rays are meet at a point which is called point F. Okay, this is also called focal point F. As I tell you that center of curvature lies on the right side in the case of convex mirror, and center of curvature is the left side in the case of concave mirror. Okay, so same way focal point is also on the left side in the case of concave mirror, and focal point is on the right side in the case of convex mirror. Okay, so these rays when extended meet at a point. That point is also called as focal point, and the distance between this P and F is called focal length. Observe figure 10.2 closely. A number of rays parallel to the principal axis are falling on a concave mirror. Observe the reflected rays. They all are meeting, intersecting at a point on the principal axis of the mirror. This point is called the principal focus or focal point of the concave mirror. Similarly, observe figure 10.2b. How are the rays parallel to the principal axis reflected by a convex mirror? The reflected rays appear to come from a point on the principal axis. This point is called the principal focus of the convex lens. Okay, they all will be diverge, and after extending it in the backward side, we will get a focal point F here. This point is called the principal focus of the convex mirror. The principal focus is represented by the letter F. The distance between the pole P and the principal focus of a spherical mirror is called the focal length, and focal length is represented by the letter small f. Remember this, focal point is capital F and focal length is small f. So we can see that this length we can show like this. This is F. Okay, and in same case this is between F and P, it is also as a F. The reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is by and large spherical. The surface then has a circular outline. The diameter of the reflecting surface of spherical mirror is called its aperture. Okay, the diameter of the reflecting surface of spherical mirror is called its aperture. In figure 10.2, the distance mn represents the aperture. Let's see that. This, okay, this the distance of these two, m and n, this is called aperture. Bottom point and top point of the mirror, the distance between those two, it will measure in a straight line. Okay, we shall consider in our discussion only such spherical mirrors whose aperture is much smaller than its radius of curvature. Is there a relationship between the radius of curvature r and focal length f? What is the radius of curvature? Okay, the distance between center of sphere and the focal principal point P, pole P, which is called radius of curvature, and the distance between focal point F and pole P is called the focal length f. Okay, so in this case the distance between C and P is our radius of curvature r, whereas the distance between F and P is our focal length. So is there any relation between this F and R? Let's find out. For spherical mirrors of small apertures, the radius of curvature is found to be equal to twice the focal length. We put this as r is equal to 2f. This implies that the principal focus of a spherical mirror lies midway between the pole and center of curvature. Okay, remember this relation, it is r is equal to 2f, or in another way f is equal to r divided by 2. Okay, focal length is always twice to the radius of curvature. So for example, this distance is, take 10 centimeter, so this will be 5 centimeter and this will be 5 centimeter. So F is the exact middle point of P and C. Okay, yes, remember this. If this is, for example, 16, then this is 8 centimeter and this is 8 centimeter. So F focal point will lie always between the center of curvature C and pole point P. Okay, yes, so that's all for today. Now in next lecture we will start from the topic 10.2.1, image formation by spherical mirrors. Okay, we have seen image formation by plane mirrors, but now next we will be see and study about the image formation by spherical mirrors. Okay, so I hope you all understand till this, and if any doubt then please ask me. Okay, thank you, bye.